Hello, everyone. This is Noah Villaverde, host of Blank Green Canvas, back again with another exciting episode of this podcast. And once again, I am joined by my good friend from New York, right over here.
Hey guys, I'm John Maffeo MaffmanJones. You may know me on the YouTubes.
Yes, indeed. And before we get into our discussion on the main topic this week, which is the finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I just got to ask, as always, how have you been in the last week, John?
Been okay, been pretty good. It's getting humid here in New York, so it's really warm, and we don't have an AC unit yet in the apartment, so try not to sweat. But been
That's
it's been crazy. But yeah, been enjoying life. I watched Mortal Kombat recently, and I watched a random movie last night, Under Siege, with Steven Seagal, and that was a fun one. If you haven't seen it, really fun '90s movie. But yeah, everything's been pretty cool. How about you?
Yeah, same here with me. It's definitely getting a little warmer here in California. I'm from Fresno, so that's definitely getting hot. And saw a couple movies in the last week also. I caught up with Promising Young Woman, which I was blown away by.
hmm
And I also saw The Father this week for the first time, in honor of the Academy Awards. And honestly, Anthony Hopkins gives one of the best performances I've ever seen. Like
So
his
it's
performance in that movie, like blew me away. And like especially that final scene. Good Lord. Wow.
I had to watch it still. But so you're saying his win was warranted then
Oh,
for the
definitely.
Oscars?
It would have been nice if Chadwick won, and it was definitely a disastrous decision
The
by the
way they did
Academy.
it,
It's like,
yeah,
come on, like you should have just done it the traditional route, just
yeah.
end with Best Picture, like if come on. But yeah, like I'd say Anthony Hopkins definitely was deserving of the performance. It's might be his best performance, and that's saying something because he was Hannibal
That's saying a
Lecter,
lot.
So
Yeah.
and yeah, and also just a fun little thing, like I recently, because for some reason, even though I've watched this movie a lot growing up, I never owned it. I went to like the record shop about a week or so ago and bought a used copy of Superbad for like $5, and I kind of have been playing it on my TV like every night since I got it, just kind of like
Yeah,
giggling through it, like even if I'm not watching it the entire thing, I fall asleep with it on. And, like that's always been one of my favorite comedies, if not one of my favorite movies, but it's skyrocketed up quite a bit in the last few days because I'm pretty sure you've seen it. So it's like,
it's
it's a
no,
classic.
it holds up really well. It's
Yeah, it
incredible.
does. Yeah, so that's definitely something that I've been obsessed with lately, obviously. And like I'm still doing some catch up from 2020. I'm probably gonna still do more of that, even though the Academy Awards are over. But there's just still a lot of potential great films that I just haven't got a chance to see yet. But I'm excited to finally do so. And you know, uh, it's kind of crazy, by the way. Let's move on to the fact that you and I have been through now not one but two Marvel Disney Plus shows now on this podcast.
It's pretty wild, actually, to think about it. Like I was thinking about it the other day that we watched. Like we started this in January, and
Yeah.
we're like a quarter of the way through the year, having finished
hmm
that. It's
Right.
insane.
Yeah, it's
Mark,
crazy to think about that. Like the year really began with like WandaVision, obviously, like starting it off, and really kicked it off into high gear. And then it's just weird about 2 or 3 weeks later, we already had another piece of content really from the MCU with Falcon and Winter Soldier. And this series, this mini series, or maybe the first season of a show based on, I'm not sure yet because there was news recently, which we'll probably get into about the future of this area of the franchise, So
right?
without further ado, let's get into the sixth and final episode of what seems to be season one, but hey, that could change, obviously. So it picks up where the previous episode left off, and Sam finally realizes, look, I can't delay this anymore. I can't deny it. I have to take up the mantle. After
hmm
all, my best friend literally gave me a shield, and
hmm
let's just say when he finally gets into action at the very beginning of the episode, I was pretty stoked.
Yeah, and they built it up. Whereas, like, yeah, it's time now. Like he's getting the suit, and it's a suit that's very recognizable if you read the comics, and they stay pretty faithful to it too, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
like you feel like he earned this moment to like finally shine as the titular character of Captain America.
Oh yeah, definitely. He really earns it in that opening scene with the action and everything. And for one, he not only does he look good with the shield, but his new costume, as you said, it's comic accurate, which Marvel has done a pretty good job in recent years in designing their costumes. So they did a really good job at bringing that to life, and the whole episode is pretty much like the final climax where it's just this big action set piece that the whole season has basically been leading up to, with obviously Sam is at the center of it, along with the Flag Smashers, which has served as the main antagonist, obviously.
Right.
So throughout the episode, we see Bucky is involved in the action as well, and we're wondering, wait, what's going on with John Walker? Because in the post-credit scene of the previous episode, he was shown putting together his own crappy shield, essentially.
Yeah, and they made it all epic. Like, look, he's making a shield, and then when you see it in action, it's like a deflated fart. It's like, and it
Yep.
doesn't quite have the same impact as that vibranium.
Nah, not really. Definitely does not have the same impact. It's like it's. I mean, he definitely uses the shield better than I would because for one, he took the serum pretty much.
Oh yeah, he
But
still
like,
has that power. Yeah.
but compared to the real thing, it's like those literal memes of like Steve Rogers versus John Walker. Like this is the real thing. Or it's
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, mom, can we get McDonald's? We have McDonald's at home, and this is McDonald's at home, kind of kind of thing.
We
And
made
it's
our own
so it
patties.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So during the episode, obviously, like he's wearing his new uniform and also the flight suit that the Wakandans made for him that Bucky asked them to make for him after his wings were destroyed,
Mm-hmm.
which looked really cool, obviously. A really like the Wakandans are genius engineers, so putting all that together, like,
Yeah,
it's always
you can't go wrong. If you need help with a suit, just go to Wakanda. They have the right gear for you.
indeed.
100%
Yes,
guarantee.
indeed. Whether you need arms or wings, especially that would definitely help you out there. And shields, of course. So they so during this episode, like during the big battle, there's some really fun little moments here and there, and what's interesting though is that when John Walker comes in, we're left wondering initially, like, how is he going to factor into this finale, because he's disgraced, he's he's a disgraced character and he's a disgraced
Hmm.
person in society, and that he was approached by Julia Louis-Dreyfuss in the previous episode about
Right.
something that they're definitely building up to in future episodes, shows, or movies, maybe, which
Hmm.
we'll get into. And like when the way he factors in, I gotta say, it surprised me, but in a way that I didn't necessarily vibe with entirely.
So maybe we're in agreement here because I feel like the character in this particular episode was a little rushed. I almost feel like, I don't know, the transition from where he was with the bloody shield when he killed somebody to
Yeah.
being like almost like working side by side with Bucky and Falcon and
like
Captain
like there
America.
was nothing. Yeah, that's one of
I
my
didn't.
biggest issues with this finale, where I'll just say this much. I enjoyed the finale for what it was. I had fun watching it, and I think that what it builds up to for future stuff is definitely intriguing. But one thing that I have a major criticism of is how I feel that Marvel and the showrunners kind of they didn't have the guts to really double down on John Walker being a really great antagonist. Because
No.
for one, the real antagonists of the show are the Flag Smashers, which is another issue I have, which we'll get into. I don't know if you feel
Hmm.
the same way, but I think with John Walker is that what made him such an interesting character, especially after the big episode 4 moment, is like how they show that he is quite literally the polar opposite. Like he's the yin or yang to Steve Rogers, and how he takes everything to his own hands, but in the wrong ways, but perhaps.
Hmm.
And the way they try to, he obviously comes in wanting to take down the Flag Smashers himself, but the way he kind of sort of like gets into good graces with Bucky, kind of, and even Sam to a certain extent. I mean, somewhat.
Yeah.
Uh, I felt like they were too scared to go all the way in on that, and I thought it would have made it much more interesting for his character. But then again, we'll see what happens with him in the future.
No, I'm sure they have plans to make him more antagonistic and like delve deeper into that psyche in the future. But I guess like in my mind, yeah, they're doing the long road, but you have this one season and you're trying to make an impact on this one season, so why not go all the way? But it is the safe route to kind of like, all right, let's have
Yeah.
him make like this transition turn around. But I don't think if it didn't feel like there was enough time to earn that moment
Yeah,
for that character.
I think that's where like one of my common criticisms of a franchise that I otherwise love comes in, where it's like when it looks like they're gonna take a really interesting risk, they kind of scoot back from that, if you will, like trying to,
Yeah.
because maybe it's because they want to make it further develop and be more satisfying later on, but it still is there, that criticism I have of Marvel not taking too many risks,
Hmm.
which can get frustrating to me sometimes from but I kind of get it, but it's something that does bug me sometimes,
Yeah.
and then during the battle, the flag smashers are there, and Sharon Carter, she ends up confronting Carly Morgenthau in this warehouse area during the battle, and through this she accidentally reveals what everybody kind of predicted, that she is the power broker.
Yep. And like you
Mhm.
get an inkling before too. She kind of does that really nasty things to that guy, to that
Yeah.
bodyguard. Like she put like that,
Mhm.
I don't know, the incendiary grenade that kind of like burns his face off, and you're like, this isn't something a good guy would do. It was kind
Right.
of
Oh
gruesome.
yeah. Yeah, like it definitely shows that she definitely changed a lot in the last 5 years during the
Yeah.
blip, which we'll get into obviously with the post credit scene that she's involved in. And, like this leads to another confrontation with Batroc, and then an interesting situation in which uh Morgenthau is trying to confront Sam, obviously, about all this, and Sam is trying to take care of it. But surprisingly enough, Sharon ends up killing her.
Yeah. I was actually shocked by how quick she was to like shoot her down.
Yeah,
And I do like the moment with Carly's death when
I
she's
do
in
too.
Sam's arms. Like I didn't care for the character, but I like the
Yeah,
moment of like now I
yeah.
get it. Like I'm dying, but like I get it
That's a
now.
it's a credit to her, to that actress, and also like
She's
it was
great.
it
Yeah,
was
she's
also
really
a
good.
welcome. Yeah, really good. She was in a Solo. I remember.
Yeah.
That's where I first
Ernst Nest.
remembered. Yeah, Enfys Nest. Yeah, and she
Yeah.
was like and it also revealed more about their past with Sharon, especially, and how Sharon kind of saw them as like just tools that she could use at her disposal,
Right.
but then once they essentially quote unquote got radicalized, basically she kind of dismissed them and said, I don't need you anymore, which
Hmm.
adds an interesting dynamic, obviously, which is one thing that actually got me really interested in what's to come, especially with Sharon, but let's talk about probably my other biggest issue, maybe my biggest issue of not just the finale, but the show itself,
Sure.
which I think a lot of
Go
people
for it.
forget because I think a lot of people forget because Marvel has spoiled us with some really good villains recently. With Thanos, obviously. Thanos is at this point an iconic villain in cinema now,
Yeah, I still
and
don't believe that. The big purple dude. Now, you can talk to anybody, they know what Thanos is. It's
yeah,
insane. Like,
he's
yeah,
I'll say it. He's, in terms of like generational impact, he's this generation's Vader. Like in
sure.
terms of like a villain that everyone will remember years down the line. There have
Yeah,
been a lot of great villains in recent years, but in terms of like pop culture like iconic, well-known like characters in sci-fi, because you could always say the Joker, but I think the Joker exists on a different plane of
yeah,
iconic villainy.
yeah, and he's been around for so long
Thanos,
too.
yeah, Joker has been around for longer than Vader,
Hmm.
essentially. So like, and Vader himself was inspired by Doctor Doom in a way. Funny enough, his design. So
I
like,
didn't know that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, because George Lucas was a big comic book reader back in the day. But also, uh, we forget that a lot of Marvel's villains in the past kind of, I don't want to say suck, but
they're
they're
just
the they're
mid.
just there.
They're
Mid
average.
at best, and Malekith at worst, as in you don't remember a thing about
Yeah,
Malekith
you don't like they do
from
enough to
Dark
service
World.
this. Yeah, that good old Christopher McClest. I forgot his last
Christopher
name.
Eccleston,
Yeah,
yeah,
Eccleston.
the Ninth Doctor, yeah,
Yeah, but he's
good
great in
actor, really great
great.
actor.
He's great in the leftovers too. But yeah, I
Yeah,
feel
he's a really
like
great actor.
absolutely. I just feel like a lot of these, yeah, these antagonists are good enough to serve as a story, but they don't do anything to really raise the bar or the impact.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of these, a lot of the
we
best
forget, yeah,
stories. No, I'm sorry. No, keep going.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm just saying, like, we just had Thanos, and we also had another iconic villain in Killmonger by Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther. Those are two like incredible villains. In
Yeah.
some ways, they're the most interesting parts of their respective movies. Even the Vulture, Michael Keaton, I thought was a really good villain. I thought that what they do with him is really cool. But
Mm-hmm.
this is another scenario which I actually say WandaVision did pretty okay in terms of like their antagonist, even though like you could argue there's some elements that are kind of predictable there. I think Catherine Hahn really made Agatha, whereas here, the actress who plays Carly Morgenthau and the rest of the Flag Smashers, they're good in their roles, but the way they are written is very clunky, and you don't really understand their motivations too well. It's very muddled, in my opinion.
They're the weakest characters in terms of arcs and emotions when it comes to everybody else is decently well written or really well written, but they're the only ones who seems like they had to put like this. They were the glue to like that got this plot moving, but they weren't really sure
Yeah,
how to keep people engaged in these characters the way they probably saw it in the writers' room. And
I
I get
agree.
it; it's tough,
I
but
get it. They're
yeah,
kind of
they
the
were.
villain glue that also plays a factor into it kind of compares how Sam and Bucky deal with them while, obviously John Walker and, like how he deals with it. So I guess they're kind of there. But I think it's because John Walker is kind of an antagonist already in his own way.
Yeah.
He's probably sees himself as kind of an anti-hero, more emphasis on the anti, like the villainous side than the hero side, because
Hmm.
obviously he is very much like he does seem to have a lot of patriotism, but obviously a lot of it is misguided patriotism,
Yeah.
especially with where it leads there. But then, like this big confrontation with the Flag Smashers, going back to the plot, it leads, to everyone is cheering and excited. Like it looks like, oh look, they're accepting Sam as Captain America, and there's even some people like civilians that are joking, hey, is that Black Falcon? Oh, who is that? No, he's
Hmm.
Captain America, and I love that.
Yeah.
Like I love those little things here and there, and this leads to an interesting scene where the media is trying to ask Sam about a lot of things, and we basically get a really big soapbox moment, which feels like something straight from a comic book, where a character kind of goes on a soapbox and kind of tries to relay like the point of the story and the message, which for some people might come off as preachy and whatnot, but I thought it worked here because Captain America inherently is a political superhero by nature of his name and his involvement
Yeah.
with the government and everything. So
Yeah.
I thought it made sense for Sam to kind of step up and just do it. And it helps that Anthony Mackie's just a great actor.
Yeah, no, he definitely sells it. I think I understand completely where people are coming from, where they think it's too preachy and too pandering to a particular market, an
Yeah,
angle when it comes to politics. But I think
sure.
the moment serves for the audience. It serves people who like because Marvel isn't not always like there are nuances in their shows and movies, but I think like right now, but I don't think they're the best at subtlety. And I think
No.
they like I think like with a bit when they know how many people watch these shows and how big their audience is, you need like sometimes you need like a big moment like that just to like get the message across. And
Yeah.
I love how much they lingered on that monologue and Anthony Mackie sells it completely. Like
Yeah,
I didn't for
it's
a second I didn't for a
yeah, it never
second like
bothered me.
not think that he was doing like yeah, it makes
Oh
sense to
yeah,
me.
it never bothered me at all because it could easily come off as like as spoon feeding what you're trying to say. I felt natural. It felt natural because Sam obviously knows the weight of the situation, not only of what he was literally fighting off against, but also culturally. It's like the elephant in the room. That's kind of the discussion when it
Yeah.
comes to race in America. And it does it in a way where it doesn't feel like it's like I'm watching CNN or something. It's done in a way where it's like, oh, this makes sense
No.
for the story,
It
and
makes
it's
sense for
natural.
Sam Wilson too. Like they built this up the entire
Yeah,
way. Like
it's in his
this his
character, and it's
feelings.
yeah, and that's why I think I wasn't bothered by that really at all. I thought it was actually a good moment, and like it leads to a really one of my favorite moments. It's really touching to me is when he gives justice to Isaiah Bradley.
This is the best scene of the show when he
Yes,
takes him to the
it's
museum.
it's the heart of the show, really. It's
Yeah.
like it plays into obviously American history and how we have erased a lot of the accomplishments of many Black Americans, but also like it gives justice to it in the sense that, hey, we're not going to let history forget about you. You may have been done dirty in the past, but we're going to make sure everyone knows who you are. And that got to me a bit. I really love that moment there.
I'm getting a little teary eyed right now.
Yeah.
But I think it solidifies Sam as a character too. Like he has the entire scene in the city where he's saving
Yeah.
lives and stuff. But like I
Yeah.
think this is the moment that really solidifies him as Captain America. Is that
Yeah.
he's doing right by the people and he's doing his best just to be a good person, which is I think ultimately
Yeah.
what the
There are other
characteristic of
moments that
Captain
happen
America.
in there are the few little threads that have to be tied up in this finale. So obviously, we see John Walker is now the U.S. agent,
Yeah.
which is
I
going
thought
to
the
be
scene was kind of
interesting.
cringy. I thought the scene was kind of
A little
cringy
bit.
as a
It's kind
setup,
of
but like
obvious.
I get
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. It's definitely a fan service kind of moment for those who are very familiar with that character in the comics,
Mhm.
and also like we see Zemo again. And remember the raft in Civil War?
Yeah, that was
Where
cool.
numerous Avengers were put into custody. Because they fought against Iron Man's team and everything else. Well, we see that those who were flag smashers that had the serum, they were captured and sent to the raft, but while they were about to be sent there, but unfortunately for them, they are killed. You know.
By a little it's Alfred Jr. the Zemo's butler, just sitting
Yep.
there with his gloves, like, yeah, job is done.
Zemo is a Zemo is a cool villain, dude. Like he's a I like I literally just talk crap about a lot of Marvel's villains, but Zemo is an interesting case because he's not like a particularly like a obvious kind of villain. He's more of like a he's very methodical and he's
Yeah.
very understated. And in a way, I think for a character like him, it really works well, and it helps that Daniel Bruhl is fantastic. So
Yeah, well, when you say understated, I think Daniel Bruhl does a great job of playing understated and playing like under the carpet, like you don't really quite know
yeah,
what
he's
he's up to.
one of the best character actors that could really do that understated kind of performance.
Yeah.
Like he's really great. And then this leads to a great moment, obviously, where Bucky and Sam, they're just having a good time together on the near the boat, and they're just kind of like dealing like, and also Bucky is also trying to make his amends. Obviously, he finally makes his amends to his friend in the beginning, you know, with all that, coming to terms with the fact that like he revealed that he killed his son in the past when he was the Winter Soldier. He's finally getting some closure here and there and ready to move on with his life.
Hmm.
And the episode, I love how it cuts to credits and how it ends with it saying Captain America and the Winter Soldier,
Yeah, it's
which
really that's a nice
it's
touch.
smooth. It was
Yeah.
smooth.
Yeah.
It wasn't like ta-da. It was just like like yeah, he's Captain America now.
Yeah.
And they did
Because
it in a way where it's yeah.
no, the way that in the title sequence, the title card for the show has always been very like it's just there. So
Yeah.
just like you don't need to do much. Just kind of show you like, yep,
Yeah. And
there
it's
you
like,
go.
yep, you're Captain America. Like no issues here. You're Captain America and you're going to
Yeah,
do a really good job at being Captain America. And then we get a mid-credit scene. A really
yes, we
interesting one,
do.
I'd say.
I want to say really quick.
Yep.
I liked how like Fast and Furiousy the end of this
Oh
episode was
yeah.
just kind of like, and I like the whole thing with the boat and like the family there, and like Bucky brings a cake and like there's
The
like
only
it's
thing missing
the
is
sunset.
Coronas.
Yeah,
They
it's too
just
bad
need
they couldn't get the
Coronas.
sponsorship. I don't know. I don't know. I
I
guess
think
Corona couldn't sponsor Marvel.
no, Vin Diesel was probably like, nope, nope,
No,
that's
no,
mine. You cannot
I
steal
keep
that
this
from
one.
me.
No,
Yep.
no, no.
Yeah, Kevin Feige, because he's Groot. He's probably thinking like, "Hey Vin, can we get a nice deal on Corona?" I was like, "Nope, that's mine.
Oh, that's my
It's
family.
your own,
No.
my family." Speaking of which, like, I'm so hyped for F9, dude. Like, good
Hmm.
lord, I
Oh yeah.
can't wait to see that in a D box theater, especially.
Oh shit. That's
That's
gonna be like a theme
I went.
park ride.
Oh yeah, and let's talk about that mid credit scene with Sharon. She's getting pardoned.
Sure. And then it is you could there's a couple of theories you could address here. So that
Yeah.
she's obviously still power broking and she's still
Oh
like
yeah.
on like the sly side, the antagonist. Like, she's kind of like they're playing her off like a villain, but I can't tell whose side she's on. But I have a couple of theories. I've seen a couple of things flying around. But if you want me, I can
Hmm.
shoot now or I'll
Oh
wait
yeah.
for a
Go
second.
ahead. Go ahead.
One, either she's a scroll, maybe,
Hmm.
or two. I've heard rumors that they wanted to say and show who she's talking to on the other end of that phone. And people are saying that the person on the other end of that phone might have been Norman Osborn.
Oh, that'd be fun. Obviously, that's a fun fan
Some
servicey
wild,
thing, you know.
wild rumors, but
And
yeah,
I have heard wild rumors that I am inclined to believe are true about Norman Osborn and his probable, I'm not even saying potential, I'm saying probable role in the new Spider-Man movie,
yeah, I've seen
and
those too.
whom is probably playing him.
If they
No,
if this is actually happening, I'm so excited with the
like
potential.
we've discussed, like that movie could be the biggest mess ever made,
It's gonna
but
be
I'm not
so
gonna
fucking
care.
nuts.
I'm not gonna care, you know. And
Yeah,
but like that'd be so interesting if that were the case. But I think what's interesting with Sharon is that I think it's gonna play into her dilemma. You know, I think it's leading us to think that she's gone full on villain, but I also think
yeah,
it's still gonna be one of those things where she's obviously gonna still run into Sam and Bucky, you
yeah.
know,
Like
and
they're not cutting ties. They're obviously still
no,
connected.
but she's very much a double agent. You know, she's playing both sides here.
Yeah,
That's how I see it, at least. You know.
it's very very like Black Widow, Natasha esque, where
Yeah,
like
yeah, and
you don't quite know.
I'm happy they did this with her character because they didn't really do much with her in her small, very tiny role in those Captain America movies, and they're finally doing something, you know. So like they're
No,
doing
you're
something
right.
really interesting. Which, speaking of Captain America, the literal day that this episode dropped, news finally was released, which we probably should have expected, but I was surprised it was in this way that we're getting a fourth Captain America movie, and by Captain America movie being the fourth one, it's Sam. He's Captain America.
And the showrunner of the show is in talks to direct and write this movie
Yes.
or something.
Yeah.
Malcolm Spellman, I think his name is.
Yeah. I
Uh,
believe so.
yeah, cool. I'm down
Which
for it. I
yeah,
mean, it's a natural
which I will
step from
say,
the
I'm
next one.
surprised that it's not like season 2 of this show, but rather
No,
they're doing a
it
fourth Captain America movie.
makes you wonder if they're doing a second season or if the second season is going to involve different storylines. If they are going to do that.
Yeah. I will say, like, when I heard this news, I was actually pretty happy because I thought, like, given the advent of streaming and what it looks like, you know, obviously given how we're doing like hybrid releases, and I mean it's starting to change up, thankful, thank God, but you know, given the pandemic is starting to subside a bit in the
Yeah,
States. But you know, like I was kind of worried, like, oh, are they just gonna focus more on shows and kind of say goodbye to movies? That's what I'm scared about, like Lucasfilm is doing. You know, like not scared, but like I'm noticing like
they seem to get more. They're getting more comfortable with the idea of doing shows because there's less risk
almost,
on
yeah,
that.
almost exclusively shows. I mean, there's two movies they have in development right now and a trilogy that I still hope exists, but probably is definitely in limbo because Ryan Johnson has another trilogy of his own that that he is getting
Yeah.
paid like millions of dollars on, you know. But like it's but obviously I think it's because in Lucasfilm's case it's different because Lucasfilm, they have a hit that seems to be beloved more broadly than, I mean, I enjoy those movies more than most people do, at least people that I encounter. But
Okay.
it's safe to say that the new trilogy was a very polarizing one
Yeah. No,
for
I
many
understand.
audiences.
It makes sense to me why they're leaning towards television more with Star Wars.
Yeah, and I think, but I will say, like, you know, like, but like with Marvel, I think it made me happy to hear about the Captain America news because it's like, wow, like they're still gonna commit to the big screen experience. Because I do, like, I want to, like, my other thing with Falcon and Winter Soldier is that it's like a double-edged sword where I like that we get more moments with the characters with the TV show length, but I also kind of think that cut down a bit on the pacing was another issue with the show,
Hmm.
where it just kind of feels like it meanders here and there, you
Yeah.
know, where I think a fourth movie, which this kind of felt like one, just a little longer than a regular movie, is a great choice, obviously, for Sam to basically be Captain America. And how great is it that he gets to have his own movie and he's
It's really
Captain
cool.
America? It's
And
not the
I
Falcon movie. It's he's Captain America.
and it's gonna be. I could see like the impact, how large that could possibly potentially be, having that fourth movie come out, even whether regardless if you watch the show or not, to see here's a Black Captain America, here's Sam Wilson, here's Anthony Mackie on the big screen playing this
Yeah,
role with that suit now. And that suit is made
and
for
the
the big screen.
shield.
Just the wingspan and the
Yeah,
shield and like
just
it's
imagine
just
that
the
poster, dude.
iconic
Like
nature of it. Oh God.
it's gonna be huge, you know. But like, I do think like even though they're making a movie, I think that given how popular and over encompassing in a lot of ways the MCU has become in pop culture, I think they're not going to worry about, oh, have you caught up with the show to watch this? I think most people are savvy enough to understand there's a show on Disney Plus at home and there are movies on the big screen that combine it
Yeah.
all.
Well,
You
one,
know, so
two,
they're
and
not going to,
people.
yeah.
I think like you don't need to like you watched Endgame, you saw the baton passed. That's all you really need to know. I think
Yeah.
going to the next movie, and I
Oh
do
yeah.
want to see how they play into the politics and the nature of being a Black Captain America. I want to see them lean into that more in the
Oh
movie and
yeah.
play
Don't
up the
come on. You
drama.
already that's what annoys me about some shows and movies where they say it in the press, but the movie or show itself, it's a lot more understated. Or not understated, it's not even a big factor. And it's like, look, if you're really gonna care this much, actually do it. Like who cares how people are gonna react, like
Yeah,
regardless of like perspective. It's like because it
yeah,
comes off as very lazy, whenever like
sure.
someone brings something up like that. Like there was a big rumor regarding Bucky's character that was a discussion online about like his personal preferences and identity, which didn't really play a factor at all in this season, but was more of something that the press speculated on because the
Hmm.
showrunner brought it up potentially,
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, I get it. Like you could talk about it in the press and that's great, but it's really annoying for people sometimes where it's like, look, if you're going to do it, just do it. Don't pat yourselves on the back. Like that moment with one of the Russo brothers in Endgame where he played
oh
like
yeah.
the first openly gay like character,
And you,
and
you
he
wouldn't
and it's
know if you didn't see the
you wouldn't
press.
know,
Like,
and it's like and it's really simple. Like I mean, I'll give credit where it's like it's done casually, and it's not like, hey, see, he's gay. But
yeah,
still, it's like, come on, you don't have to like pat yourself on the back of like
yeah, it's the
something
self
small like
righteousness of
that,
it. Like, yeah, look what we're doing.
you know.
We're showing representation in film. Look at this, and then it's gone. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't.
and it's a character that we don't get to know. I mean, obviously that it
No,
looks like they're going to be introducing some heroes that are, like whether they're in, a part of that community or other communities, but still it's like
sure.
if you're going to do it, just do it. You don't have to make like a press thing and then just drop the ball. That's what a lot of shows do. Like in Rise of Skywalker, you have that couple there, at the very end, but if you blink, you won't even see it. It's
Yeah,
like,
no, you would have no idea. But yeah,
come
you
on,
have the
like
opportunity and the platform here to really tell. I don't know what they would do potentially story wise, but like you have an opportunity here to tell a really important story and make it really matter and make it like and say
yeah, for
something
any
that
cultural
people
like
could really
situation, yeah.
appreciate. Yeah, so I really hope
You don't
it's not
have to
like a
make a bigger
safe route.
deal. Yeah, don't make it a big deal out of a tiny moment, or something that isn't entirely there yet until it's actually there. That's
Yeah,
something where it's like you're dangling a carrot in front of audiences that really want to be seen in some way, and then you just pull that carrot out. It's like, okay, you don't have to do that, dude.
yeah,
But overall, that
absolutely.
was that was the 6 episodes of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I gotta say, like, I liked it. I think I definitely enjoyed WandaVision more,
Hmm.
even though WandaVision the finale itself was also messy in its own way. I was more satisfied with the arc of her character, overall. Like I think her arc is beautiful in that show. Here,
Yeah.
I think this show is good, really good. But I think it's obviously like it's called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but this is Sam's show. Like let's be real. This is Sam's show.
No, I have seen that complaint too. That it's not really. I mean, there is a nice arc for Bucky, but it's not
There
really.
is.
Yeah, it's the spotlight is not on him. He's just like a
Yeah.
supporting character to Sam Wilson.
The way I see it,
Like
it's like Sam. I always bring this up when there are two main characters in something. It's like Sam Wilson is Woody and Bucky is Buzz, which is weird because Sam has the wings, you
yeah,
know,
it's like the
and
opposite. Yeah.
yeah, but you know what I mean, right? Because Toy
No,
Story, yeah, it's
absolutely.
about Woody and Buzz, but Woody is the protagonist. You can't get
Yeah,
around that,
and it's really
and it's
hard.
like,
Obviously, they had like a like in this they had like a. I'm losing my words here. They had a
mhm.
focus here, and the focus wasn't entirely on Bucky. Like the main crux of the show is to tell Sam Wilson's story, and it
Yeah,
is hard to like tell both of their stories without making things a little
yes,
cluttered.
and yeah, not just Sam's story, but also giving context to Isaiah Bradley's story, I'd argue, which is
Yeah,
also kind of like the justice of the show, which is great.
yeah,
And when Bucky is there, he's still prominent, very prominent, in fact. But like you leave the show thinking about Sam more than you think of Bucky. But it's not that Bucky wasn't important or had great moments that were memorable. He did, but it's like this is Sam's show, like, and
yeah,
that's how I feel about it. And I enjoyed it, and I have my issues with it. I have my nitpicks and some actual legit criticisms regarding the villains and the pacing, but I thought it was a really worthwhile watch, and I'm excited for more shows coming up, like Loki and everything else.
Absolutely. And I agree. I think like I don't know if I would revisit. I can't consider. I can't. I don't see myself motivated to go back and rewatching these shows, but I'm enjoying them still. I think I enjoy the weird shit more, so I think I normally
Yeah,
would
same here.
gravitate to a WandaVision. But I do like what they were doing here. I do think they played the safe route for a lot of the routes they took with the story and the arcs. But I think most importantly, you get something impactful with Sam, and you get something impactful with Bucky, the two
Yeah,
main characters you're coming away from, and I think people who are fans of these of these characters, you're gonna be you're not gonna be disappointed watching this. You may be bored a little
yeah,
bit, you may not be engaged the entire way through, but I think there is something meaningful in there. It could have probably could have been. There's ways you could have added an episode on. You could have taken away things little bits that didn't mean. And I don't know how you make a
yeah.
show without the flag smashers. And like you
Hmm.
would have to tell a whole different story probably, or at least change a
Sure.
lot of like the arcs with the characters. But I liked what they did, and I enjoyed it the whole way. And this one, I think I like the message of this show more than WandaVision. Just I like what it
Interesting. Yeah.
did more. But yeah, I like I said there, and I mentioned it in previous podcast episodes, but I'm more excited for Loki more than anything else now. And that was the one that I didn't really care
That's
for
one that is so
initially.
oddball.
It's
Yeah.
weird though, because I didn't give any shit about that show when they first announced it, and now it's the one I'm
Yeah, it's
like, I
like
want to see what they do.
it seems such an interesting, bizarro kind of situation where anything can happen on that show.
Yeah,
And I agree with you. I gravitate towards the weird MCU places more than I do the standard stuff. Basically, if it's a white like Taika Waititi and James Gunn, or something like WandaVision, like a lot of my favorite MCU movies are from those people, and like the wacky weirdness of it. And
yeah,
Loki seems to be diving into that. And the reason like I said, I like these two shows so far. I've liked them quite a bit, and I think the only issue is that sometimes they bite off like Falcon Winter Soldier bites off more than it could chew. And it's kind of apparent, especially in the finale, where they kind of like don't go all the way in ways that they could have that made it would have made it more fulfilling. But
yeah.
part of it I think is also because of pandemic restrictions might have played a factor. You know,
Maybe. Yeah, I can
I
see.
wouldn't be
I can definitely
surprised.
see that.
I felt that especially with the WandaVision finale, where there was definitely a pandemic reason why things might have turned out the way they did. But I'm enjoying these shows, and I am. It's so weird that we had two big MCU pieces of content already this year, and it's not even halfway yet, and we haven't had movies yet. You know,
It's I don't know. It's like it's in 10 years ago, having one of these shows in 1 year would have been like the biggest deal. But we're
yeah,
getting like
and
five or
Black
six now.
Widow was supposed to come out in like within this week, and we're
Yeah.
getting it in
Oh yeah.
July. No way around it. Like it's coming out both through Premiere Access and on the big screen, which I'll be seeing it on the big screen,
Yeah, I'm
because
not paying thirty
of
dollars on
course,
Disney Plus.
no, no, like I'd rather just go to the theater. And if I'm gonna pay $30 to watch it at home, I'll buy the Blu-ray. It's
Yeah.
like, like there's that. But like I am excited for more to come and more from these characters. And like Disney Plus, like they've done some pretty good shows so far, both from Marvel and Lucasfilm. I'm curious to see what is to come, obviously. And also, I am just really excited for another Captain America movie,
Yeah.
just from that announcement there.
And I don't really count Captain America Civil War as a Captain America movie. I know that the movie's focused on him, but I liked the first two movies more. And it would be nice to see a movie that's completely centrally
Yeah, like
focused
I
on
don't watch that
him.
movie as a Captain America movie. I watch that as Captain America and the Avengers.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
But
Or
they have to
arguably,
focus. Yeah. No,
yeah, or
absolutely. But
arguably it's Captain America, Iron Man, and the Avengers. It's that's how I see that movie.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's too many.
I
There's
really
too
like,
many
yeah.
juggles going on there for it
I
to be
like
just
that
a Captain
movie.
America
I do
movie.
I do really like that movie, but it's an Avengers 2.5. Like
Yeah,
I can't. I'm
I
sorry. Like
agree.
that's just how I feel watching
Yeah.
it, because I don't even think. Oh, everyone calls it Civil War. They don't call it Captain America Civil War. You notice that?
No. And
The
people
Civil
call it.
War caption is bigger than Captain America.
Yeah.
So
It,
can't blame
he
people for feeling that way.
his title is a conduit for them to make another Avengers movie, essentially. And
Remember
it's
when
fine.
they had that big press conference and they said it was called Serpent Society first,
Yeah,
and
and I
then
believed it, and I believed that
yeah,
shit.
yeah, it would have made sense. And then the big reveal, and that's where they revealed Chadwick.
Yeah,
and all that, which was a nice time. I remember I was sitting in the library at my college, like looking up all the news and refreshing my page to see what was coming up. And I was so psyched that they were finally confirming all these projects. And the
yeah,
thought of Infinity War, when it was just Infinity War Part 1 and 2 and not Endgame, was like, wow, like that's not real. That can't be real. How is that going to happen? It's weird that all this is in the past now.
yeah. And they're on to like bigger, weirder, stranger things.
Indeed. Well, I guess that ends this podcast in terms of our discussion of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. For one, look at us, John, as Paul Rudd would say.
Not, not me.
Now, who would have thought? For
Who
real,
would have thought?
and yeah, but thank you again. It's been such a pleasure discussing all these Marvel shows with you, among other things, on this podcast. And I'm always
Absolutely.
glad to talk to you on camera, on mic, or anywhere. So, where can people find you, John? What are you up to these days?
It's always a pleasure, dude. And thank you again for having me on this podcast too. Like I'm always having fun with you, and it's always a great time. For
Yes, it
anybody who
is.
wants to follow me, you can find me anywhere on social media platforms at John Maffeo /MaffmanJones. And I'm getting a Mortal Kombat video up soon. And as I mentioned the other day, I still have the itch I want to scratch talking about the potential future of Spider-Man in this whole thing. So that'll be coming
Hmm.
down the pipeline too.
That is cool. I definitely look forward to seeing your stuff in the future, especially that Spider-Man one, because man, I have been obsessed with Spider-Man lately. I always have been my whole life, but lately I just been thinking like this is actually happening, and I'm almost
Yeah.
tempted to just throw on like one of the old Raimi movies, even three. Weirdly enough, I don't like three, but I like watching it. Is that weird? You know what I
Yeah,
mean when I say that?
it flows nicely. I think the music in it is really nice to listen to, and it still has that Sam Raimi flair. So
And
like
there's great
it's
moments,
yeah,
emphasis on moments.
yeah,
Like
sure.
yeah,
I've come
yeah,
back
but
around on
yeah,
Spider-Man 3. Not to deter the conversation, but yeah, like it's but there's nothing is it the best comfort food to me is those three movies.
yeah, those movies
It's
mean a
just
lot to me too.
yeah.
But yeah, like I'm definitely looking forward to seeing your video on the future of Spider-Man. And so yeah, you can find John Maffeo on all those platforms, Mothman Jones. And you can find me, Noah Villaverde, on Twitter, Instagram, Noah Villaverde, or maybe underscore between both my first and last name. You can also find Blank Green Canvas, obviously, through the podcast, which is through Anchor, which is also shown on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, among many other platforms. And you could also find Blank Green Canvas on Facebook, where you could see my posts on there. And also, obviously, if you were watching our video version of this podcast, you could watch it on YouTube, which is Blank Green Canvas. There you could find many of our other recaps on both The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and our discussion on Zack Snyder's Justice League as well. And you can also find some of my reviews on movies as well as a couple video essays that I've made in the past. I look forward to making more stuff very soon. I am currently developing a few ideas. I say that a lot, and sometimes I flake because I get busy with other things, especially the new job I had. But I am definitely looking into putting more stuff out again very soon. Like I'm just glad that I'm able to get a chance to talk with John and to put something out there, not worry about growing in terms of like a bigger audience or whatever. I just love doing it. I just love doing this and it's fun to get something done and to talk with friends. So thank
For
you
the love of the
everybody who
game.
has supported. Indeed. Thank you to everybody who supported us and watched this podcast on YouTube or listened to it on any podcast platform and for following us through both of these shows. And I certainly look forward to our probable discussions on Loki when it comes out in June. Is it June?
The first week of June, I think, is when it comes out. Yeah,
Bruh, that's crazy to think
dude.
about.
It's a month from now. It's like just like 4 or 5 weeks away. Not that long.
Yeesh. Wow, time goes by fast. Well, anyways, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm Noah Villaverde of Blank Green Canvas, and this is,
John Maffeo, Mothman Jones. See you guys
and we
next
will
time.
see you in the future, possibly in an alternate dimension where Loki is in control of everything. Thanks
Yes.
again. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.